There's a reason why your life hasn't followed a straight line. Why pain seems to find you in ways others don't understand. Why your inner world has always felt like a battlefield between light and darkness. And maybe you've spent years trying to fix yourself, trying to become more spiritual, more peaceful, more loving, trying to silence the rage, the shame, the doubt, the chaos. But what if I told you that the very parts of you you've been taught to suppress, reject, or hide are the exact parts that make you chosen? What if the darkness within you is not your curse, but your calling? This is the truth they don't want to say out loud. Your dark side is not meant to be erased. It's meant to be understood, honored, and mastered. We live in a world that worships the light but fears the shadow. It tells you to be positive, be kind, be grateful. And yes, those are beautiful things. But when they become masks, when they used to avoid the depths of who we really are, they become prisons, and chosen ones. We don't do well in cages. We came here to break them. Not just for ourselves, but for entire bloodlines, generations, and even timelines. You see, the chosen are not chosen because we are pure. We are chosen because we are whole. We carry both the light and the dark in extreme measures. We hold the potential for immense love and immense destruction. And our work is not to eliminate one and elevate the other. Our work is to integrate, to bring both into divine alignment. Because when you learn how to sit with your darkness without being consumed by it, when you learn to channel it with love and precision, you become unstoppable. That's the real power. That's the gift God placed inside you, not to be a saint, but to be a warrior of truth. Look at your past. Really look. The times you fell, the times you acted out of fear, anger, or despair, the moments you were ashamed of. Did they not also teach you something you couldn't have learned any other way? Did they not force you to go deeper, to question, to confront the real you under all the roles and masks? That was your shadow calling you home. And that's what most people run from. But not you. You've always known somewhere deep inside that the darkness was never just an obstacle. It was an invitation. But here's what makes this path so difficult. The world will judge you for your shadow. It will label you, project its fears onto you, try to make you feel like you're too intense, too emotional, too unpredictable. And sometimes you'll start to believe them. You'll try to shrink yourself. You'll try to clean up your energy to be more palatable. But every time you do that, you lose a piece of yourself. Every time you deny your shadow, you deny your soul's full power.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Let me ask you something real. How many times have you felt like your emotions were too much for this world? How often have you felt like a storm in a world that only values sunshine? Have you ever wondered if maybe you were never meant to fit in because you came here to transform the very system that demanded your conformity? The chosen ones are not here to play it safe. We're here to go into the depths, the places others are too afraid to face. We're here to feel deeply, to rage against injustice, to cry the tears of ancestors, to walk barefoot through the fire of our own trauma and come out carrying the medicine. And that medicine, it's not made in the light. It's forged in the dark. It's born in the parts of you that were abandoned, rejected, or misunderstood. Your jealousy, your fear, your rage, your shame, these are not your enemies. These are energies. Raw, powerful, holy energies that have been distorted by a world that fears your fullness. What if you stopped trying to suppress them and started listening to them? What if you asked your rage what it's protecting? What if you asked your insecurity what it's trying to teach? What if your darkness isn't here to destroy you but to initiate you? The truth is, chosen ones are often put through extreme inner conflict because we are being trained to hold more than most. We are being expanded, tested, stretched so that we can carry light into the places that have forgotten it. But to carry that light, we must first know the dark, not theoretically, intimately. We must meet our own shadow face to face, Look it in the eyes and say, I see you. I will not run from you. I will learn from you. And when we do that, when we stop trying to kill the dragon and instead choose to ride it, we unlock a power that is terrifying to the world. Because we become whole. We become unshakable. We become the embodiment of divine paradox. Fierce and gentle, wild and wise, light and shadow all at once. That's the truth of the chosen one. That's why the dark side is not your weakness. It's your initiation into mastery. So the next time you feel your shadow rising, don't push it down. Don't shame it. Invite it in. Sit with it. Ask it what it needs. Let it speak. Because underneath that raw, messy, uncomfortable emotion, there is truth. And in that truth, there is power. And in that power, there is God. Not the God of separation and fear, but the God of wholeness. The God that lives in everything, including the parts of you you were taught to hide. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not dangerous. You are divine. And your darkness, it's not a deviation from. There's a part of you that's wild. A force that doesn't ask for permission, doesn't wait for approval, and doesn't care about being liked. And chances are you've tried to bury it because you were told it was too much, too aggressive, too unpredictable, maybe even evil. But what if that part of you, the one you've spent your whole life hiding, is actually your divine monster? A sacred, unstoppable current of raw spiritual power that was never meant to be tamed, only directed. You see, most people are afraid of their darkness because they've never been taught how to wield it. They think if they open that door, they'll be consumed, they'll lose control. But that only happens when you reject your shadow for so long that it erupts in destructive ways. When you suppress your darkness, it doesn't disappear, it festers. It waits, and eventually it explodes, not with clarity, but with chaos. That's not power. That's pain pretending to be power. What we're talking about is something different. We're talking about integration. The sacred art of owning your dark side without being ruled by it. Using it as fuel, not fire. You don't need to kill the monster within you. You need to train it. You need to sit with it, speak to it, understand it. You need to know what triggers it, what activates it, what calls it forth. Because once you know that, you stop being at its mercy. You become its master. Here's what most people don't realize. Your dark energy is not the opposite of your spiritual gifts. It is the foundation of them. Your anger. That's your sword. It tells you where your boundaries have been violated. Your jealousy. That's your compass. It points to the parts of you that are ready to grow. Your fear. That's your threshold. It shows you exactly where you need to step. These emotions, when unclaimed, become poison. But when embraced with consciousness, they become power. Have you ever noticed that some of the most magnetic, powerful people are the ones who have clearly walked through hell and made peace with their demons? They don't posture. They don't pretend to be perfect. They're grounded. They're sharp. They radiate a kind of presence that can't be faked. That's because they've turned their darkness into depth. They've turned their pain into purpose. And they've turned their shadows into shields. So how do you do it? First, you stop moralizing your emotions. Stop calling them bad or wrong. Emotions are messengers, not enemies. When you feel rage, don't suppress it. Ask it what it's here to protect. When you feel envy, don't judge it. Ask what part of you is crying to be seen. The more you listen to your darkness, the less it needs to scream for your attention. Second, create sacred spaces to express your shadow. Scream into a pillow. Write uncensored words in a journal. Dance like a storm. Channel that energy into art, into movement, into creation. Chosen ones are not meant to be passive. We are creators. We are transformers. That energy is not meant to stay trapped in your body. It's meant to move, to evolve, to serve. Third, set boundaries like your life depends on it, because it does. Your shadow becomes toxic when you're constantly exposed to environments that drain you, disrespect you, or dismiss your truth. You cannot alchemize your darkness if you're still feeding it with toxic patterns. Protect your energy, not to escape the world but to engage with it from a place of power, not pain. Lastly, remember this: your divine monster is not here to make you feared. It's here to make you free. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be whole. And wholeness includes rage and grace, fire and stillness, destruction and rebirth. You are the storm and the calm. You are the shadow and the light. And when you stop choosing between the two, you become a living paradox, a force of nature, a divine being wrapped in human skin. Let me ask you something. What would shift in your life if you stopped apologizing for your intensity? What would unlock inside of you if you gave yourself permission to be the entire spectrum of who you are, not just the pretty parts? What would happen if you stopped trying to be real? That's where your power lies. Not in the image you project, but in the truth you embody. And the truth is, your darkness is divine. Your anger is sacred. Your shadow is a guide. And your monster, it's not here to ruin you. It's here to reveal you. You've heard it said that light heals. But what if I told you that light alone isn't enough? That healing, true healing, the kind that transforms not just individuals but entire generations, doesn't come from escaping the dark, but from alchemizing it. The chosen ones aren't here to be beacons of sterile light. We're here to be mirrors of wholeness, to walk into the spaces where pain has lived for centuries and bring not just love but understanding. We're not here to erase the shadow. We're here to transmute it. This is the alchemy code, the lost art of spiritual transformation that isn't about escaping your human messiness, but embracing it so fully that it becomes medicine. Alchemy doesn't reject the base material. It doesn't look at lead and say, "You're too heavy, too impure." It says, "We will work with you. We will hold space for your transformation. And in time you will become gold." That's what you're doing with your shadow. You're not trying to escape it. You're learning to hold it long enough for it to reveal its gift. You don't heal the world by pretending to be perfect. You heal it by becoming a living, breathing example of what it means to walk through darkness and not lose your light. And then, to offer that light to others without forcing it, without preaching, just being it. Do you realize how powerful that is? When your presence alone becomes a portal for others to feel safe in their own humanity. That's the work of a chosen one. That's what we're really called to do. But here's the secret ingredient to the alchemy code: self-compassion. Without it, nothing transforms. You can't alchemize what you still judge. You can't heal what you hate. You must become radically gentle with your own process. That means forgiving yourself for how your shadow once expressed. That means understanding the version of you that lashed out, shut down, gave up, or stayed silent. Not excusing it, but honoring it as part of your evolution. Can you find the courage to look at your darkest moments and say, "I see why you showed up"? Can you hold space for your own mistakes with the same compassion you long to give to others? This is the real spiritual work. Not floating above the world, but sinking into it fully, vulnerably, honestly, and choosing to bring love there where it's needed most. That's alchemy. Choosing to love what was once unloved. Choosing to see what was once hidden. Choosing to bless what you were once taught to curse. And once you start doing that within yourself, something miraculous begins to happen. You start seeing others differently. You stop judging people for their faults and start recognizing their wounds. You stop reacting to their shadows and start responding to their pain. You become less triggered and more tuned in. Less defensive, more discerning. That's because you've done the work within. You've taken your own shadow through the fire. And now you carry the flame that helps others do the same. This is how chosen ones heal the world, not by fixing others, but by becoming safe spaces where others remember they're not broken. And you don't do that by pretending to be enlightened. You do it by being real, raw, honest. You show your scars not as trophies but as maps. You speak your truth not to impress but to liberate. You walk into rooms where pain lives and you sit down without flinching. That's the power of alchemy. That's the power of the chosen. So let me ask you something now, something deeper. What would your relationships look like if you stopped hiding your shadow and started sharing your gold? What would your purpose feel like if it wasn't about being liked, but about being true? Are you willing to release who you were taught to be in order to become who you already are? Because here's the divine twist. Your shadow has been trying to lead you back to your soul this entire time. It's been showing you where you are unhealed, not to shame you, but to invite you, to alchemize, to remember, to reclaim. So the next time your shadow rises, don't run, don't numb it, don't silence it. Sit with it, look it in the eye and say, I'm listening. Because sometimes the monster isn't there to destroy you. Sometimes the monster is the messenger. And once you've heard what it came to say, it no longer needs to scream. You become the space, the fire, the healer, the alchemist, the one who turns the unbearable into the beautiful, not by bypassing the pain, but by walking straight through it with grace. There is something ancient inside you, something older than your name, deeper than your wounds, louder than the noise of the world. It is the God within, the spark of the divine that has lived through lifetimes, through pain, through forgetting, through fire. It's not outside of you. It never was. And now, more than ever, the world needs you to remember that. Not just for your own healing, but because your wholeness is the medicine this world is starving for. We are living in a time of spiritual famine. People are chasing illusions, fame, validation, control, thinking these things will fill the void. But what's really missing is connection. Real connection. To self, to soul, to source, and chosen ones. We are the bridges. Our very presence challenges the illusion. Our very energy disrupts the system. But only when we are whole, not when we're performing, not when we're pretending to be light while secretly hating our own shadows. You can't embody the divine while rejecting parts of yourself. That's not wholeness. That's fragmentation with a spiritual costume. And the world doesn't need more spiritual costumes. It needs truth. It needs people who have walked through their own darkness, kissed their own chaos, and returned not perfect, but real. Realness is the new enlightenment. Vulnerability is the new power. Wholeness is the new divinity. You are not here to be a copy of someone else's version of spiritual success. You are here to be you fully, fiercely, unapologetically. That means embracing your intensity, your anger, your desire, your wounds, your weirdness, all of it. Because the more permission you give yourself to be whole, the more permission you give others. That's how we heal the collective, not by preaching light, but by embodying truth. And let's be honest, the world is collapsing in on itself because of unintegrated shadow. We see it in leadership, in religion, in media, in relationships. People are projecting what they won't face, blaming what they won't feel, destroying what they secretly envy. That's the cost of spiritual amnesia. That's why your remembering matters. Because you, chosen one, are not just here to survive this life. You're here to shift the frequency of it. But first, you must reclaim the God within. Not the version of God that was handed to you through fear and control, but the one that lives in your bones. The one that speaks through your intuition. The one that dances when you create, weeps when you love, and rises when you say, I choose to be whole. That God is not distant. That God is you, awakened. And when you live from that place, everything changes, not just for you, but for everyone who comes near you. You don't need to be perfect to be divine. You don't need to be healed to be holy. You just need to be honest. And in that honesty, the God within starts to take up space again. It starts to move through your voice, your choices, your presence. You become a living prayer, a walking temple, a reminder that divinity was never about escaping being human. It was about embracing it so completely that heaven and earth meet inside you. So let me ask you this, with everything you now know, are you ready to stop dimming for a world that's lost its eyes? Are you ready to embody the entire spectrum of who you are, not just the light that's easy to love, but the fire that makes you unforgettable? Are you ready to stop waiting for permission and become the permission? The world doesn't need more gods in temples. It needs more gods in humans, awake, whole, dangerous to illusions, devoted to truth. That's who you are. That's why you've suffered. That's why your shadow has followed you like a loyal ghost. Not to haunt you, but to hone you. To remind you, you are not here to be saved. You are here to remember that you already are the savior you've been waiting for. The God within is not coming. It's returning. Through you, through your wholeness, through the day you stop running from yourself and instead say, I claim it all. And that day is now.